details is not really that important. His is probably from a Roman initiation. The historians they differs about where he's from, but he is a good person, and he met several of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. From those that he met, Ibn Darda, the wife, may Allah be pleased with her. So he was competing with people to learn the knowledge of Islam from them, from the companions of Prophet and what they had learned from the Prophet. He want to know, they understand the ruling. And he is from Al-Madinah. And he saw the Sunnah in a practical way. Because people practice the Sunnah, not just recited it. And he has a lot of piety that people put respect to him. People's heart love to look at him and listen to him because of his knowledge. And Salman ibn Abdul Malik, may Allah have mercy on him, his heart felt softened to Al-Umrah and to visit the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ. When he arrived Al-Madinah and he stayed in it, so people came to him to greet him. He is the Khalifa, he is the Amir al-Mu'mineen, the ruler, that everybody want to get closer to him. So when Sulaiman finished receiving people who welcomed him, he looked at his people. He said, the souls get arrested just like minerals. If it does not fight, those who will remind it every once in a while of Allah and to take this rust away from it. So he is saying, and this is something that he learned from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, who said that the heart rusts just like the iron, and to wipe it is to mention Allah. So this is where Sulaiman came with, that the souls are rust, just like Prophet ﷺ said, the hearts get rusted just like iron. And to take this rust away, you have to mention Allah Azza wa Jal. And he said that we need someone who could remind us of Allah, of remembrance of Allah. They said yes. So he said, so Sulaiman said, there is a man, he is blessed from the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, or from the followers of the companions. They said, yes, there is one. They said here, Abu Hazim al-Ahraj. And he said, who is this man? They said, Salama bin Dinar, the worshipper in Al-Madinah, and one of the followers who reach a lot of companions. He said, bring him and be gentle to him. So they went and asked him to come in. So when he came and arrived to Sulaiman, he welcomed him and he seated him close to him, and he told him, why, Abu Hazm, you disrespect us? He said, what disrespect did you see? He said, people visit me and you weren't among them who visited. I want one of you to put himself in the shoes of Abu Hazm. May Allah be pleased with him. Or imagine, how did this thing happen between them? That the king, the ruler, came and he is welcoming everyone who come to visit him. What do you do? And if you did not, and he called on you to come, I'll tell you why you didn't visit me. So when he told him that people visit me and you did not, he replied, he said, it is after their disrespect if people who know each other. He said, you don't know me before today, and I did not see you, so what are you expected from me? I don't know who you are. Look at this piety, where he is respecting Allah. When the person's heart is full of the love of Allah, with the might of Allah, with the glory of Allah, then everything else becomes little. Nothing will be great in the eyes of this person. Nothing could be big, nothing could be huge, nothing could really make a difference. A king or a regular person are the same, because everyone who is up on top of the sand is actually sand. Everything's going down. But this is only for the people who have the love of Allah, the respect of Allah, the glory of Allah in their heart, fill their hearts, who love Allah in the secrets and in exposed in public. This reply will not come except with a heart that is full of the glory of Allah. We're going to answer. So the Khalifa said to his people who were sitting next to him, like if somebody went to the king and said, don't embarrass us in front of him. But the person who fear Allah, people fear him. But the person who is fearful of people, he will not be fearful of Allah. So the Khalifa, he is the one who is hiding himself. He is the one who's giving himself that reason. He said, the Sheikh is right about his reply, and the Khalifa himself is wrong about putting the blame on the Sheikh. When the person fears Allah Azza wa Jal truly, Allah Azza wa Jal will make the hearts of people fearful of that person. So the ruler said, I am the one who is wrong. And he looked to Abu Hazim and he said, in the soul, there are certain things I would like to expose it to you, Abu Hazim. And he said, bring it. And Allah is the one who helps. So the Khalifa, he said, oh Abu Hazim, why do we hate death? He talked about the disease. And this to show you how Sulaiman was loving to the goodness and he's looking forward for the hereafter. He wants to win in the hereafter. So the Khalifa said, so he asked, why do we hate death? So he said, because we have built our life and we destroyed our hereafter. So we hate to go from the building to the destruction. We have built this life and we hate to leave the place that we have built to the place that we have destroyed, which is the hereafter. Imagine if you and your family live in one room, doesn't have any windows, and all of you will live during this flood Look if this water is slipping into that room and it is cold, nothing that you could benefit you. And you were told you have in the next town uh, a palace. You have everything that you love to see, from the food, from the luxury, from the wines, from every luxury there is. So how long are you gonna stay in that room? Where are you going to look at? Where your heart will be at? Remember this example. And look at what you have provided for yourself. So if the person is living in a palace from every luxury there is, from his family who take care of him and people who take care of him, who gives him the luxury of this life, and then he was told, in this town we will rent you a room and you take a fan, something minor. Are you going to move from that palace to that one room? How much you're looking forward for that journey? You're going to hate it. And this you find this when the students, when the vacation time comes in or finish, and you have to go to college in different town, and the student was with his parents who give him everything, they spoil him everywhere. So when he leaves back to college, he gets homesick. Or a person who goes to a different country, when he is with his family, he's happy, his heart is impressed with happy. But when they depart, there will be some kind of sorrow. And that's how, if you look in the parable, that if you look at what Allah has prepared for you, from the good life and status in the eternal life, what makes you want to stay in this life? That's one of the signs of faith. To be anxious to meet Allah, to look forward to meet Allah. If someone was told that today you're going to die, he will be saying, welcome with the meeting of Allah. This is what the Prophet ﷺ described. Bring me forward, bring me forward. But those whose heart is filled with this life, and in the building of this life, and in the luxury of this life, and forget his hereafter, this person will hate to die, because he hadn't prepared anything for it. That's why when Sulaiman asked Abu Hazm, why do we hate death? When did this happen? In 97th Hijri. And we told you in the 98, when Allah took the soul of Sulaiman ibn al-Malik, and then Umar ibn al-Aziz came after. So imagine, and the best generation is the generation of the Prophet ﷺ. In the first generation of the Prophet ﷺ, there are still companions alive. And the Prophet ﷺ, he gave you the diagnosis. He told you what the disease and the cure. Al-Wahan, when he said, talked about the Al-Wahan, and the companions asked him, what is the Wahan? When he said that the nations are about to go around you just like the beast on its meal. They said, are we going to be little? He said, no, you are a lot, but you are just like, you have the Wahan. Allah takes the fear out of your enemies, and He put in your heart the Wahan. And they said, what is the Wahan, O Rasulullah? He said, the love of this life and to hate death. The person will love what he have built in this life, and he hates what he have destroyed for the hereafter. So if Sulaiman or Abd al-Malik, who is in the town of the Prophet ﷺ, asking this question, so shouldn't we ask ourselves these questions? What did we prepare for the hereafter? What did we prepare for the death? There's an example. The story is not so we could in turn ourselves and waste time. It is so we could learn and implement. So when we hear this, what do we prepare for the hereafter? Or did we build this life where we don't like to leave it? If the angel of death came to you and said, today is your hour, you're going to say, welcome to the meeting of Allah? Or are you going to try to run away among those who say, why don't you let me wait a little bit so I could give charity and I'll be among the righteous? And Allah said, He will not delay a soul if this death came to it. So every day you see the sun, you have to talk to yourself. Am I ready to leave today? Am I ready to meet Allah, the Almighty? So the Khalifa said, he said the truth. He said, oh Abu Hazim, what do we have with Allah tomorrow? You're talking about Sulaiman, who opened and conquered so much land. Are we going to be counted for everything? All these millions of people that under the authority, and all that money is spent to put the goal of Allah higher. What was the answer of Abu Hazm? He did not say, oh mashallah, he started mentioning every good thing that Sulaiman did. No. His answer, and if he told him that, he would have been truthful, because Bani Umayyah, they reach all the way to Spain, which is Andalusia at that time. So the answer was, look, expose your deeds to the book of Allah and you will get your answer. He said, what can I find it? He said, look what Allah said. Indeed, the righteous in luxury and in the Fajjar in hellfire. And don't be deceived by yourself. Allah said, and the human on himself is aware. Every person look at himself and he knows what he did. When you do a deed, did you do it sincerely to Allah? Did you purify your intention and seek the reward from Allah, away from people? Otherwise, the reciter, he memorized the Quran and he recited, and he comes at the judge with Allah, and he will be told, it was told that you are a reciter, good reciter, you get the reputation you seeked. So they could say you are a good speaker, you are a good reciter, and it was said that about you. So your word on this. So all your word that what people are saying to you, this is what you seek, this is what your intention was. But a state that went from east to west and north and west, that did not mean anything. You're not the one who did it. And I told you that Sulaiman ibn Abd al-Malik, and he has sworn to Allah that he will not come back unless Allah open the Constantinople for him, or he will die seeking it. He did not sit in his palace with the maids. No, he went himself and fought for the sake of Allah. but he is just a soldier, just like the other soldiers of Allah. Did the history tell us the names of the people who died in Yarmouk or those who died in Constantinople? But Allah has kept their memory, and He have written to them the heroism and the eternity in the heavens. May Allah make us among them. That's why, my brothers and sisters, to ask ourselves every day, because Allah said the human on himself is aware, he can see. He knew the person always seek Allah's mercy. So he asked, where is the mercy of Allah? So Abu Hazm said, the mercy of Allah is close to people. You reach it with good deed. Where did he knew? He's not trying to be harsh with the ruler, but he want to give him an advice in his place from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Because he said people lie to Allah, and they said we do the good thought about Allah. They lied because if they have if they were truthful, then the deed would have been reflecting that what they say. So Al Khalifa said, a lot of people they fear to meet Allah. No, it is very obvious. He said, but the one who do the goodness, the muhsin, like a person who come back to his family, whomever did good, how do you think when he come back to Allah? He's just like a person who left his family and coming back to them, and they welcome him and they have prepared to him the best of seating and everything. And Allah, He miss His righteous servants. Allah is more anxious to meet us whenever we are anxious to meet Him. And He will say, and this is the time of reward. What is the best reward for the good deeds of the goodness? So Al-Muhsin, the one who do perfect his work, he's like the person who came back to the people that he missed from his family. But the other one, he's just like the slave who is dragged to his servant. So the meeting with Allah, you are the one who could decide how you're going to meet Him. You could decide that meeting. You could decide that reward. If you do goodness, you will not be rewarded except with goodness. And no one will take the good deeds from the other. And then he said, oh Abu Hazm, how are we going to correct our situation? He said this is the money, how do we get Allah's righteous? He said, if you take it with its right and you put it in its resources that Allah told you and divide it evenly, and you are just between the servants. This is the message to everybody who is in charge of others, whether it is on small or big. By Allah, poor is the person that Allah gave him the affair of people. They will be asked on every little and big thing. They will be asked about every penny, how it was spent and why it was spent and how it was gained, whether it was in a masjid or in a community or in a government or in charge of a whole nation or on top of oil or whatever it is. Every of those was going to be asked. So for all of those that Allah bestowed them in charge of people, they will be asked. So Al-Khalifa said, "Oh Abu Hazim, tell me who is the best among people?" He said, "The people with piety." He did not say anything except with evidence from the Quran. So Al-Khalifa said, who is the most just? He said, when some true statement, you say it in front of a person in charge. To tell him the truth, this is the best of jihad, as the Prophet ﷺ told us. It is a true statement. You say it on an oppressed tyrant. And does not mean you go and criticize him, that you say the truth. You clarify the truth. A lot of people thinking that if you get on a member and cuss somebody, this is not an advice. The advice is in its place, and to show the truth, it's what is meant in here. So Al-Khalifa said, what is the fastest dua that won't be answered? He said, the dua of the good person to the good people. He said, you believe in someone who's in need, and you hope for rich and you fear poverty. A person who makes $1,000 and he donates 100, and a person who had a whole bunch and he just gave 1,000. Well, it's nothing compared to the millions that he has. That's why, from my experience, my brothers and sisters, this is my humble opinion, that the poorest person, the person who has less money, is because he did not spend in the sake of Allah. A person who gives 1,000 but he is making 50,000, and a person who's making $500,000 a year are not equal when they donate the same thing. Alhamdulillah, in the last 25 years, when you ask a charity on a regular basis, don't ask the richest person, go to the people in the middle, because they give it with sincerity. But Alhamdulillah, there is goodness in the followers of Muhammad ﷺ. But in general, this is what I observed. So Al-Khalifa said, who is the foolish person? He said, a man who had the obedience of Allah, then he humiliated people after it, with it. They say, Al Khalifa, who is the most stupidest person? The smart person who asks about the goodness and the evil, so he could avoid the evil. Abu Hurairah uses one of the companions used to say that people used to ask the Prophet ﷺ about goodness. I used to ask him about the wrong, so I don't fall into it. So he answered, it is a person who is following his own desires. So he sold his hereafter with the life of someone else. Really, it is destruction for those who fall in that trap. And he is really a poor person, the one who sold his hereafter to please someone else. Whether it is someone with authority or vice versa. No one deserves. Everything is going to be demolished or finished. But people, they don't think, don't have long-term vision. If they knew that death are coming to them, they will not do any wrongdoing. So he told them, Abu Hazim, once you join us, you will benefit from us and we will benefit. He said, no. He said, I fear that I depend on you a little bit. So, and then Allah will give me double the life and double the torture. This ayah that Sheikh has recited, it came our Prophet ﷺ with the disbelievers. So if you count on the people of desire, or someone who owns something in this life, and distract from the remembrance of Allah, and you know, this is the person that will give him double the death and double the life. So Khalifa said, let us know what is your need. So he did not answer him. So he replied it. We'll give it to you whatever it is. He said, my need that you prevent me from going to the hellfire and enter me Jannah. As if he's saying, if you think you are capable of, or if your characters, that you free people from the hellfire and put people in the heaven, this is from the character of Allah. Like he said, I have no need for you because there's nothing in this life I have interest in. He said, your door is nothing of you. He said, I don't need anything else. When Jibreel came to Ibrahim alayhi salam, he said, ask me, do you have anything? He said, from you, nothing. Jibreel, the king that Allah has favor over the other angels, when he asked the Prophet ﷺ, but he from you, nothing. This is a heart that's connected to Allah the Almighty. Don't fear nothing except Allah. Don't ask nothing but Allah. So the king told him, ask me. He said, oh Allah, if this servant is biased, make him make the right decisions. And this is why I'm connected these two stories for the king Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik, that Allah made him make the right decision to choose Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. And he said, if he is from your enemies, oh Allah, correct him to what you are pleased with. Then someone said, this is the worst thing you said. Since you came in to the prince of you made him the enemy of Allah. So Muhammad says, no, it is bad what you said. He said, Allah has taken the covenant from his servant to make it clear to people and not to hide it. Then he looked to Khalifa and he said, oh, Prince of Believers, those who died before us, they thought they stay in goodness as long as the rulers follow the scholars. And then some people learned and they wanted something from this life, so the rulers didn't need the scholars. Say they both destroyed. This is who sell his religion for something in this life, and he waste the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. This is he said the person who fell from the eye of Allah, from Allah's taking care of him. So he said, I did not see anyone the wisdom is closer to his mouth than you. This is the description of Sulaiman to Abu Hazm. I haven't seen anyone whose wisdom is closer to your tongue than you, because of a heart that's connected to Allah, that's full of Allah. And did not discuss a statement except with a reason with Allah. So he said, if you are among the people who be answered, he said, I have said enough to you. And if you're not among the people, then I should not throw something, an arrow with no tendon. So the Khalifa said, give me an advice. He said, yes, I will give you the last advice. Glorify your Lord and don't let him see you what he has forbidden you to do, and to find you what he told you. So stay in the places where Allah loves to see you at, and never be in the places where he has forbidden you from doing. And this is from glorifying Allah the Almighty. This is his piety in the secrecy and exposed. Then he made salam and left. Then a Khalifa said, Jazakallah khayran, from a scholar who gave good advice. Inshallah, we'll continue next week, inshallah. If you give us two minutes, inshallah, we'll continue the rest. He said, as soon as he reached his house, he found that the prince, he sent him something full of money, and he said to him, spend it, and you have plenty of this like it. So he sent it back and he wrote, oh Prince of Believers, I hope you're not making fun of me that I spend it. and to return to you is wrong. I don't accept that. So how can I accept it to myself? This is a, a lesson for everyone who learned, who worked in the sake of Allah. Look how Abu Hazm looked at it, to the money. He said, "Oh, if these money and for the talk or the advice gave you, then the eating the pig is permissible because the advice should not be paid for money." And he saw it that it is worse than the eating the pigs in this life. And if it is truly, it is from the house of the Muslims, meaning from the zakah. So either a compensation for what's it, or something from the house of Allah. He said, "Did you equal me and between all people with this? Are you gonna give every person the same thing? It's not gonna be permissible to me, except you are giving it to every Muslim in the state. Otherwise, it will be unequal division and fair division. This is uh, corruption to on the trust that Allah gave you on the money of the Muslims." And this is a khul, this is what Allah has forbidden. So it could be either a reward and he's not going to be accepted to him, and he found it worse than eating the dead corpse and eating the meat of the khanzir, or it is something that is not, he don't deserve it because it's not equally divided. May Allah make us some of those who will listen. Inshallah, continue next Monday.